Second by Mr. Lansky. Any comment from the public? All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. Board Secretary.
This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item not on the agenda regarding district business. State law prohibits the district from taking any action on any items not on the agenda unless authorized under section 54954.2 sub B of the government code, and your matter may be referred to the general manager. An individual may also address the board on any agenda item at the time the matter is discussed and prior to board consideration or action. Speakers will be limited to 5 minutes. Your time will start when you approach the podium, and you'll be given a 30-second warning before your time expires. If you choose to ask a question during this time, any response by the board will not extend your time. Questions may be referred to the general manager to be answered at a later time after the meeting. In order to allow for a smooth and orderly meeting and allow each speaker the ability to address the board, disruptions from the audience will not be tolerated, and you can be asked to leave. We appreciate your cooperation in this democratic process.
All right. At this time, we'll open it up to public comments on non-agenda items. Do you have anybody who would like to make any comments? Up to the podium, please.
Good evening, board and staff. Rick Webb asked me to come forward this evening. He is at work and not able to make it, but he wanted to extend his gratitude to the community for showing support and voting him into office. And I would also like to express my gratitude to the community as well. And we look forward to getting on the board and doing our best for this agency and for the community of Roseman. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to have any comments? With no comments, we'll move on to presentation. PR1, community outreach, new public transit service to Edwards Air Force Base and Mojave Spaceport. The presenter is Norm Hickley.
So we want to say thank you, Mr. President and members of the board, and appreciate the opportunity to come up and do public outreach to the Community Services District. We want to come up here because Edwards has been a place that ABTA has served in the past. It was way back in 2005. It lasted for a few months, and for reasons we're still not quite sure, the service stopped. And ever since last few years, we've been involved with the Antelope Valley Transit Authority. We keep hearing that there's a lot of individuals that would really like to have that commute up to Edwards. And we started doing outreach with the leadership at Edwards some time ago. And they are also very much interested in going green, trying to eliminate the number of cars going into the installation. And so we started working together. And we're at the point right now where we actually have a route that's planned coming from the Palmdale Transportation Center, going to the Lancaster Metrolink station, coming up Sierra Highway, and it'd actually make a left-hand turn and come over to, Eagle Way, I believe it is, and hit that, make sure we make a stop there at the bus stop right by Albertsons, and then come back Rosamond and then go right into the base. And as you can see, there's several stops here coming into the base. And the primary focus in the mornings runs is to make sure that we get there on time so that the contractors, the employees, military personnel that are coming in will be able to go work at the different facilities up here at NASA, some of the different places along. But also we're providing the service so as we come out of the base, we're going to be able to pick up the residents that are living there on the base and bring them into Rosamond, and then ultimately down to Palmdale and Lancaster if they so choose. So we're really excited about this. We have it timed out right now for 2 runs in the morning that will head out from Palmdale Transportation Center, and they will, like I said, stop at the Lancaster Metrolink station and then come along. Getting people there on time. We've been coordinating with the folks at Edwards as to the start times and to the finish times for the employees, and making sure that we're having them there on time. Edwards management's looking forward to this. They're seeing it as a real savings I guess they had quite a traffic jam in the morning going into the base, and so one bus carrying 53 people where they can, of course, the announcements will be made. If you're going to go onto the base, you have to have the proper credentials and the proper security clearances. But that guard can come on the bus, check everybody's clearances, make sure that they have the proper protocols to get on the base. If they don't, then they'll be asked to step off and go to the visitor center. If they have the clearances, they'll be able to continue on, and we'll get them to work. So we're really excited about that. And the other route that we wanted to share with you, because it also, we believe, has an impact on your constituents here in the Rosemont area, if I don't destroy all the good work people have done, is to have a route that we'll be instituting, the 748 route, again from Palmdale Transportation Center, stopping at the Lancaster Metrolink station and coming up here to the Mojave Air and Spaceport. They've reached out to us some months ago and said, we really need to have public transportation coming out. We'd like to have a commuter route. We have a lot of employees living in this area between Rosemont and Lancaster and Palmdale, and they would love to take the bus and take away that stress of having to drive those miles every day. Take away some greenhouse emissions. And these are all going to be battery electric buses built right here in Lancaster by BYD. They're going to be, they start off with the 60-foot articulated buses, and they're all going to have Wi-Fi. So if you need to study, you want to read, you want to finish up emails after work, not that any of us have ever wanted to do that, but sarcastically I said that, of course, but it gives that opportunity for somebody that they don't have to worry about the drive. We can take care of the drive for them. Even our slogan for the folks out at Edwards is, you take care of the skies and we'll take care of your ride. So, and it's really as a tribute to what they all do and the science that's being done out there at Mojave and Air and Space. So I don't want to take too much of your time. I do want to say thank you to Ron Smith and the staff out here. They opened up their doors and hospitality at 4:30, so we were able to talk to some of the members of the community and give them some information. I don't know if you all got a folder.
There's a stack here. That
Okay, yeah, there's some for the community if they'd like, and we can provide you with a folder of some additional information on the routes. But we wanted to make that first presentation for your constituents. See if you had any questions, any comments, any feedback for us. We'd love to have it. We're hoping to get these routes going right after the first of the year.
Any questions from the board?
If your Mojave Air and Spaceport route, is it just one bus or two routes, just one time a day or twice a day?
It's twice a day. It'd start off at 4:40 in the morning, the very first one out of Palmdale Transportation Center, and then the second bus would leave at 5:40, and that's staggered. So there's the first bus and then the second bus, about an hour apart, and that aligns with their start time and finish times out there at the Spaceship Company and Scale Composites.
And I'm looking at you have 5 stops at the actual Mojave Air and Spaceport itself, is that right?
That is correct. I can do this, and you come into the spaceport, it will come all the way over here to the straddle launch manufacturing facility,
Yeah.
make a U-turn, and then we come back to the Spaceship Company, their first facility here. Then we'll come to the Spaceship Company second facility, and then over to Scale Composites. So
One question what about the speeders from Roseland or even Lancaster, Palmdale, come up there and they take care of their tickets there at the courthouse? Have you done anything for them?
the speeders.
I mean, what about this courthouse stop? Have you thought about that?
I hadn't thought about that, no. Something that we can, obviously.
It's right on the way, I guess. In other words, if you need to add things that are right on the way, is that going to be
I mean, as we get this established and we see the demand, and that's a great input. I mean, if there's a lot of folks that need to stop up at the courthouse, then that's certainly something that we can consider.
It sounds like you'll be there around 8 o'clock or before.
It might be worthwhile to have another route too, if there's enough demand a little bit later in the
Not much demand, but that
Yeah.
wouldn't hurt to
Okay.
be back. And the other thing
Great
is,
feedback.
does it loop around through the bus stop at Albertsons just like the one that goes to Edwards, or I can't remember?
This one right now is not planned to. But if we have a good indication, that's why we're doing the outreach. If we have enough feedback that there are enough employees that are working out at Mojave, here that we need to do that, then we can certainly make that change before we actually implement the route.
Well, where's the stop now, I guess the question.
There is no stop right here in Rosamond,
It's
right,
zero.
currently. Right now, it's from coming right through, but that's why we want to do the outreach. We want to make sure we're not missing a constituency of employees in case there are folks here. We've only heard about really the ones in Lancaster and Palmdale. But again, we want to do our due diligence and be very careful that we're not bypassing anybody.
Okay.
I know if we can take any cars off the road, it's in the morning here and the afternoon, the base traffic, especially the way it's hitting right now, you got all the kids trying to get into the school and their parents trying to drop them off. And then the signal on 20th Street went to just a flashing red,
Okay?
and it was backed up almost to Albertsons. So anything we can do to get more cars off the street.
Well, and that's our mission. That's the reason why about 3 years ago, we decided we're going to be the first transit agency in the nation to go to all zero emission, all battery electric buses. Obviously, it's good for the economics here in the local area in the Antelope Valley. And so we think we're doing good on several different fronts. And as you say, the more people that we can put on buses and take care of their ride, providing that safe ride, convenient ride, and get them to work on time, then it's a win for everybody.
Now, you already have buses that come to Roseman now and stop at Hummel Hall, or is that someone else that does that?
That is Kern Transit, I believe. We do not come up here as of this time.
Okay. And are you working with them on any routes?
We work with Kern Transit all the time with coordination, mainly down in the Lancaster-Palmdale area, mainly Lancaster. But certainly we're open to working with Bob Neath and the folks in the county of Kern, yeah.
Mr. Nolan?
I had one question.
Yes, sir.
Having to go to the base occasionally to watch ball games and stuff like that, I have a hard time getting through there. Is that the bus driver won't be responsible for checking the passengers? and
No, the bus
making sure
driver,
they're
he or she will make the announcement, and we're gonna have a very prominently displayed sign up there, as requested by Edwards, that anybody going onto the base is going to have the proper credentials to get onto the base and be allowed to be on the base. So, and in fact, as we're even going through the security clearances for our operators right now, but we're not gonna leave that up to the operator to make that
So if
security.
they don't, they'll just be left.
If they don't, what the young man or woman who is carrying the very nice shiny arm at the gate will escort those individuals off and ask them to go to the visitor center. And it could be a thing that's where they need to stop and go and just like when I check in now, and go to the visitor center, and then they can get other transportation arrangements, yes.
But the bus driver had no responsibility for that.
No, they will make the announcement, they need the proper credentials, but that is as far as they'll go.
Mr. Kay?
Yeah, what's the anticipated cost for the rider?
For the rider, for a monthly pass is $175. And if you just wanted a one-way pass, it would be $5. And then we have a 10 ride pass,
35?
35, yes. So, and again, some folks are coming in for 2 weeks. They need the bus coming in from the hotel. They're only here for a short period of time, or they know they're only going to be here for a couple weeks, so they get that 10 ride. That gets them out and back pretty affordable.
Sounds great.
Excellent.
Any questions from the public?
Go ahead. I just have one observation.
Sure.
You mentioned that you wanted to do more outreach in Roseman to see if there's viable to stop.
Yes.
We have with us today a newly elected member of the Roseman Municipal Advisory Council, Mr. Gregory Washington, in the back there. He'd be a good one to talk to. Maybe you could go speak to the municipal
We'd be
advisory
happy to. We'd love to. And that's exactly why we're wanting to start this. And you have to start somewhere. And Ron comes up in my speed dial. So that's, but no, and we'd love to have the opportunity to come out there and talk to the advisory group.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Thank you very much. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to PR2, fiscal year 2018-2019 budget document. Presenters, Mr. Ron Smith, General Manager.
We're not going to do any PowerPoint or anything tonight. We sent you all the documents and just sort of, this is an introduction. There's still, as we speak, some tweaks that we're making to it. Brad is going to give me some more documents to add to it that we've decided. This is a GFOA. It's going to go back to the GOFA for a presentation competition to see if we meet the standards. So we're going through it with a fine-tooth comb, making sure that we have everything within this document. What we're going to try to do from now on is that this is the type of document that will be presented to the board as the budget. The numbers in this budget document you've already approved, but it's usually you're given a spreadsheet and an explanation, but we're going to try to do a document like this that has a more in-depth explanation and a different way of presenting the numbers so it's a little bit more easy to understand. This document is mainly produced for the public and the board so that you can understand what is a complicated budget. So we're just introducing it and presenting it. We have, I think it's 11 more days, Brad? 11 more days. We have to do a few more tweaks, and staff has worked really hard on it, and we've done a lot of work on it, and I think it's a good thing. So I emailed you all the links. This is going to be an electronic document, so it actually has links to our codes. It has links to the Constitution. So it's going to be good. So when we get the final document, we'll send you all one. And this is I wanted to do it before we were done completely, because this is going to be the last time that you're probably all together, and this is this board's budget. So if you have any questions on it.
Mr. Norton? Any questions?
And you can always give me a call after you peruse it and talk about it. Any questions that you have.
Okay. Mr. Lansbury?
Well, I think we talked a little bit about the quirks that we saw in there with respect to the intro.
Yeah, I copied and pasted from our urban water management plan, and I thought I had the most recent copy of the management plan that I wrote, and I didn't. I had the one before that, so the description of the location geographically is not correct in the document that you got, but I just corrected it and it's updated, and it was the old one that the engineers wrote, being on the that we're on the eastern slope of the Tehachapi Mountains, and we're not. We're on the southern slope of the Rosemont Hills, and then east of the Tehachapis. So that's all accurate now too.
But also, can we get something more up to date than 2015 data on the population projections? Or
No, because those population projections were increased, but the thing that you and I have a discussion about this all the time, when you get your data for Rosemont is Rosemont, RCSD is RCSD. So when you get population data, that population data is for the RCSD. So that's the estimates of how it's going to grow. But Rosemont has a bigger population because it's larger geographically. I mean, you go all over the place.
And I guess with respect to that, as far as the RCSD goes, our population, we have pockets in Rosemont that are not in community service district. Are those pockets of people eliminated from the numbers too, or is it?
Those pockets are virtually going to disappear with the arsenic consolidation. In fact, I think they've been all annexed in at this point.
Is the annexation completed?
With LAFCO, yes, absolutely. So they're annexed into our district. They're just not connected to our system yet.
Were they able to vote in the last election?
I don't know. I'm not the county recorder. You'll have to call
I guess that
her.
would be where the rubber hits the road, though.
Yeah, that would be it. So, but no, we will, the data that's in there will be updated every year of what the current data that we have. And we'll probably add some other stuff to it that some of the, we'll put housing, we'll put some other stuff in there also.
Okay.
Mr. Wolford?
No, I got about halfway through it and fell asleep. So it's not real stimulating to me.
It's not a novel, no.
No.
It's finance.
But, from what I've so far, it looked all right.
Anyone from the public have an opportunity to view it?
Yeah, we put it on, it was online, and then when we get the final document, we'll post that as part of our website as in our budget, on our budget site.
All right, anyone have any questions? All right, thank you, Mr. Smith. We'll move on to our minutes. M1, approve October 16, 2018 regular board meeting minutes. Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. McKay, seconded by Mr. Williford. Any comments from the public? No comments, we'll call for the vote. All those in favor? Aye. It's unanimous. We'll go on to consent.
Mr. President, also, you want to, as we discussed too, you want to pull CC6 And Brad can just give you a quick explanation with questions and stuff, maybe at the end of the rest of the agenda tonight.
All right, you want to move CC6 to the end then?
Yeah, that's fine. And then you have one related party on CC2.
Right. Okay, we'll move on to consent calendar. CC1,
I move we approve CC 1, 3, 4, and 5.
okay, we have a motion for 1, 3, 4, and 5 by Mr. Lansgard, seconded by Mr. McKay. Any comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous. CC2, we have a related party. Mr. Lansgard's brother and sister-in-law own Carl's Hardware, so he'll be stepping off the dais.
Make a pot of coffee while you're in the kitchen.
Okay.
Okay, CC2 approval check voucher register dated 10/9/18 through 11/5/18.
So move.
Motion by Mr. Williford. Do we have a second? So moved. Seconded by Mr. McKay. Any comments from the public? No comments from the public? All those in favor?
Aye.
4 approved, 1 abstained.
One recused.
Recused. Excuse me, thank you. All right, CC6, we're going to move to the end of the agenda. So we'll move on to a public hearing. At this time, we'll open the public hearing. PH1, ordinance to rescind the assets for landscaping and lighting District 1. Mr. Ron Smith.
Yes, this was introduced last meeting 30 days ago, and we published it and everything, and so this is just now the adoption of that, and this is rescinding the 3 ordinances from 1993 and later that developed the dollar on the water bill. And you've already taken the budgetary action after this is adopted tonight. Then Lizette is going to work through the financing of putting, depending on, we have to do a computer program on it of, if somebody just signed up for water service, they might get refund, or get a credit on their bill of $2. But if it goes, we're going to go all the way back to this fiscal year, July 1st, and credit everybody for that $1, and that cleans up what we now know as LLAD1. And so this tonight is the adoption.
Anyone from the public would like to comment? Mr. Wood.
Good evening. I would like to ask the board, I understand that I've discussed LLAD1 with Ron, and I've gotten the documentation on it, and I've been able to read it, but I haven't been able to completely go through all the research and everything. That, I understand 218, but the one question I had on this was, Proposition 218 didn't come into effect until 1996, but all of the actions that you have in the research shows that this took place prior to 218. And I'm also concerned about giving up a revenue source that is currently being paid for arterial lighting in LLAD1, and that money could be used to pay down debt that we have. I understand that the ultimate outcome might be rescinding LLAD1, but I would like to ask the board to give the new incoming board the opportunity to review this and to do our research on it and everything else before passing this ordinance and giving up that dedicated income that's coming in right now for the streetlights. Thank you.
There was one additional besides the Prop 218 in our briefing, and that's the Streets and Highway Codes, and that was done in 1973. And so that's the governing action on this. Okay. That it has to comply with that.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else like to comment? Any comments from the board?
I think the lighting issue has been a headache. Anything to simplify it is an improvement.
Mr. McKay? Mr. Lansgard?
It is important to note that by eliminating the need for engineering, we're going to save as much money as we're going to be spending on this or more. So it's
Mr. Williford?
No.
Comments? All right, with no other comments, we'll close the public hearing as of 7:27. We'll move on to item B.
I move that we adopt ordinance number 2018-3 to rescind the assessments for landscape and lighting district number 1.
Second. Okay, we have a motion to adopt the ordinance number 2018-3 by Mr. Lansgard, seconded by Mr. McKay. Any other comments from the public? It'll be a roll call vote.
Vice President Williford?
No.
Director Lansgard?
Aye.
Director Glennon?
Yes.
Director McKay?
Yes.
President Schimmeldecker?
Yes. Ordinance passes. 4 votes yea, 1 vote nay. We'll move on to new business. Establishment of lien. Mr. Smith.
Yes, as you know, within our policies and everything, we have quite an outstanding debt that, and we've made a lot of attempts to try to get that bill paid, that we have to place a lien on the property. And so that's what's before you today. There's 2 liens on there. Let me get this one here.
Updated Exhibit A.
Right, updated Exhibit A that you can just, make by note when you pass it. The one total is $2,290.30, and the other is $1,338.46. So that'll go on the Kern County property lien, and that also covers any properties that they own within Kern County would be covered. So when they sell the property, so we have one of the things we're looking at a lot of times is that for multifamily units, instead of shutting off the water for 60 residents in an apartment building and stuff, be out of water. Sometimes we have some landlords, so sometimes we tell them we're going to lien the property, and most of the time when we go through this process here, they usually start calling us and paying everything off. So we should be able to take care of that. So that's in front of you today.
All right. Any questions from the board? Mr. Glenn? Mr. McKay? Mr. Lansgard?
No.
Mr. Williford?
No.
Well, I did have one question. Have they contacted us and they're aware what?
Oh, they've talked to us, yeah, and sometimes historically it's the same owners, that we have certain problems within the community, and they're the ones that get shut off all the time, the ones that don't want to pay their bill, and these are landlords. So,
Any comments from the public? All right, we'll move on to item A. Adopt resolution 2018-18, authorize the establishment of the lien against certain real property to secure the payment of certain delinquent water and sewer charges and penalties. Do we have a motion?
So move.
Moved by Mr. McKay,
It's almost there.
Russ is second it.
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Williford. We have a roll call vote?
Vice President Williford?
Aye.
Director Lansgard?
Aye.
Director Glennon?
Yes.
Director McKay?
Yes.
President Schimmeldecker?
Aye. Resolution passes, it's unanimous. MB2, approve the closure of the district office from December 24th through January 1st, 2019. Mr. Smith.
yes, historically, we've shut down the front office here for the Christmas holidays. A lot of people are going on vacation. They're off during that week anyway. We have guys that are on 410, so they're going to be here for a couple days. But we will have staff to take care of the leaks. And anybody who wants to work, the employees have to take vacation time if they want. A lot of them have already put in vacation requests for this time. And then if they want to work, we have work for them to do. So we'll have everything up and running, and water quality, everything's going to be taken care of.
All right. Any comments from the board? Mr. Glennon?
No, I think it's a good idea.
Mr. McKay? Mr. Lensky?
Concur.
Mr. Wolford?
I'm going to make the motion.
Any comments from the public? No comments from the public. We'll entertain a motion on approval.
So move.
Second. Moved by Mr. Williford, seconded by Mr. McKay. All those in favor?
Aye.
So done.
Here you go.
At this time, we're going to move consent calendar CC6. The file and accept of the 2017-2018 audit. Brad?
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board. As you know, this is usually a consent calendar item. If there's nothing that can be changed or voted on, there's no action to be taken. We simply wanted to take a moment to congratulate the board on 4 years of clean auditing and good opinions and increased reserves, and just point out a couple of the highlights from this year's audit. Auditors use funny language, so I'm going to try and simplify it as much as possible
You really do.
for everybody here. And much to Mr. Williford's point, it's not very stimulating to those of you who don't want to be stimulated by it. But we did receive what's called an unmodified opinion. They've changed this language in the prior years from unqualified. A qualification would be something like the word accept. Everything's great except. So if you had a qualified opinion, that would mean everything was great except for these things over here. They've changed that to say it's unmodified opinion, meaning that there is no except. They didn't find anything. We don't have any management representation comments. Nothing to say, well, the numbers are okay, but we suggest you do X, Y, and Z. We haven't had any of that in several years. So we did receive what could be called the cleanest of opinions on our financial statements and our financial status. We had total revenues of about $8.7 million, total expenses of about $7 million, which increased our net position by about $1.7 million. When it comes to net position is simply the amount of changes, revenues over expenses. That doesn't necessarily correlate directly with the amount of cash that we used or received. But it is a good position for us to be in. But one of the things that has come up in recent years, in 2015, the Governmental Accounting Standards Board implemented GASB 68, which was to account for the pension problem and to have governmental organizations begin to look at the pension problem as a bigger problem. And we have done that over the last couple of years. But every year we have to make adjustments through our expenses. Again, not necessarily correlated directly with cash outflows, but we have to make adjustments for expenses for GASB 68 to account for the changes that the actuaries made on life expectancy, discount rates, the economy, inflation, all of the things that are uncontrollable at the organization level. We have to account for our fair share of those things. So that fluctuates outside of things that we can really anticipate and budget for, but we do make those adjustments every year. But fortunately, it doesn't, again, have anything to do with the amount of money that we've given CalPERS over the course of the year. In fact, by funding our unfunded liability several years ago, we've saved ourselves a significant amount of money, an uncalculable amount of money at this point, but a considerable amount of money simply in the contributions that we've been making to CalPERS on an annual basis. Our rate, for example, in 2015 was about 20%. It is now less than 10%. So we're saving a considerable amount of money on a pay-by-pay period basis, on an annual basis in that regard. But part of the expenses of the year include adjustments for the GASB 68 pension contribution considerations. Our park and street lighting activities had higher than anticipated revenues and lower than expected expenses, netting a favorable variance over budget by about $283,000, so that was good. Long-term debt owed to outside obligations was paid down by $547,000. That's all scheduled debt service payments. As you can see, it's all public information, but it's a good note to continue to show that we're continuing to pay down these debts on a regular and responsible manner. We also paid down the internal loan that we have within the organization from the sewer fund to the other funds to pay for partially the parks and streetlights and other things for the unfunded liability. We paid the internal loan down by $135,600. And all these numbers are approximate. I can get the exact ones if the media would like them. They're all available in the financial statements if you want a copy of that as well. But for presentation purposes, I've rounded to the nearest $100 or $1,000. And the big ticket item, as you guys know, we've been working really hard to put together a new reserve policy, look at our excess revenues, put together the rate study that came through in 2016, and really look at getting our reserves back in order. Although we're not anywhere near where we should be, according to policy and industry standard, we have increased our reserve balances in this fiscal year by about $3.5 million. So bravo, congratulations, it's wonderful. That's about it in terms of highlights. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this time.
All right, Mr. Lambscott, any questions?
Yes, if you could, can I ask the little questions first and the big questions later?
Whatever you'd like, sir.
Okay. Well, little question is, you mentioned that the GASB 68 pension problem accounting was to be taken care of. How did we do on that?
I don't understand the question.
I mean, are we looking at a problem with the pension accounting or pension providing for pensions in the future? Or?
Of all of my clients, and I have about 12 throughout the state of California, this organization is materially ahead of the curve in a good way. By paying off the unfunded liability several years ago, we made a significant payment to CalPERS, and I know there's been some consternation about that throughout the industry about where to do that and how much to do it and when to do it, and the use of cash and reserves and all those other things. But this particular organization has put itself in a very good position. Although we are still underfunded, we are probably, and I'm just guessing off the cuff here, above 90% funded, and I can't think of any other organization in the state that can say that.
Okay. And when I first learned how to read budgets on the school board, they always said we can go to the end. We don't have to read the whole thing to find out what the answer is.
Ruins the book.
But you can do that in this one too. I mean, but the problem with this one is it doesn't have any accept, as Mr. Rockerbrand said, because usually you have an accept to say, okay, these are the things.
But that's not a problem. That's a good thing.
I'm here.
Yeah.
Well, it is in a way, but you don't know. There's nothing here to look at. So
we don't have any exceptions. We don't have any problems.
I'm looking at the last page.
Well, if you're looking for problems, you're not going to find any.
I know that's fine, but it's
You hit them good.
the compliance and other matters. It says results of our test disclose no instances of non-compliance or other matters that are required to be reported under government auditing standards. That's the only thing I saw that in the last. It's just 2-page letter at the back.
Yeah, that is a separate letter over internal controls. The auditors do test our internal controls over financial reporting, but they do not issue an opinion on them. They simply test them so they can build some reliance on the quality of our controls over financial reporting. Obviously, they don't want to come in and look at every single transaction and do a lot of substantive testing. So they test the internal controls to make sure that the people are signing the checks and doing the right things, or there's an appropriate amount of oversight, and they do issue a report on the quality of our internal controls.
And then, of course, the hard question at the end: our reserves increased by $3.5 million.
Mm-hmm.
As a percentage, are we 100? I know we're 100% on several of the reserve categories. Where are we at on the one that allows us to reduce the rates?
We're still at about 42% funded on the rate stabilization fund.
The rate stabilization fund's 42%. How far do we have to get on that before we can reduce rates?
58%.
And how soon do you anticipate us meeting 58%? Because now we filled up all the rest of them. We're going to fill that last one up pretty fast.
Well, the rate stabilization fund is based on the rate study, which is a 5-year study, which ends in 2022, I believe. 2021. So it's never supposed to be fully funded. That's not the point. The point is to have it be there as it relates to the rate study that was performed by the engineering consultant that we had come in 2015 and 16. However, in order to be able to fully fund it, we have to make up for the money that we used from before. So we're still playing catch up.
And remember, the reserve for the stability is not it's rate stability, not rate reduction fund. And the stability means that as and remember we showed you that curve. we're collecting more money now because there's going to be a tipping point where we don't have enough revenue, in the rates to cover the expenses. So now we take it from the first year and we pay the third year. Then we'll take it from the second year and we pay the last year. And we'll go through, when we go through, I think we have slated to start the investigation, the information for the new rates in the fiscal year of 1920, so that we're ready for when this rate's over.
Or even 2020.
And that's what I was thinking, that we're in the position we are now because of the rate study and increase in the rates.
Yes.
And we need to look at that again when it comes to the point where we see we're at that tipping point. And it's in my mind, it's very unlikely that we would reduce rates. We would probably have to increase them.
It may stay the same.
Or they could stay the same.
You're always dealing with assumptions of what you don't know. Assumptions are, you're assuming it's good, the trend will stay the same. And one of the things that we didn't know when we did the rate study is
The ramp down.
the ramp, how's the ramp going to affect, but how are we going to get availability? Now we have the new wastewater treatment plant where we're going to recycle water, but instead of turning into tertiary, we're going to turn it into drinking water. And that's going to save a lot of money when it comes from the rates from buying state water project water. If we look at new water sources, after the ramp down, some water rights are cheaper to purchase, and we purchase cheaper water rights. That'll all be factored into the new assumptions of the new rates, because this study was based on, we might have to buy AVAC water to cover it.
It was based on 404 acre feet of water.
Well, no, it was based on the ramp, and the ramp down is not going to be done when this study was done. It's only 5 years. We're in the first year of the reduction of production, the third year of the ramp down.
Does that reduction start January 1st?
We're in it now. This is our first year.
That is the next phase in.
Correct. So we had to reduce 16.7% this year, which is fine because our demand is lower than what that number is. We started at about 3,000.
But when does that next 16% come in? Is it
next year,
in
2018? And we do it every year for 5 years, and then on the 6th year, we're down at the 404.42. Is that?
Any other questions, Mr. Lundskog?
But the audit, no, I think that's very well done, and congratulate you and the staff on doing such a great job in getting that prepared for them, and again, getting a plus and unmodified opinion from the auditors.
See, that's what I want to hear, the colloquial, so the common man can understand, rather than the finance guys. We got an A+. Not unmodified, unqualified, we got an A+.
That's correct. Mr. Wolford?
It's still dry reading, but I congratulate you too.
Mr. Glenn?
I appreciate you really understand our budget at this point.
Yes, I think we're all pretty well versed in
I
it
know
at this
you don't have
point.
the categories memorized, but they're
I do.
pretty much in the back of your mind.
Mr. McKay? Brad, on behalf of the board, I believe I can speak for the board. We thank you for your guidance through these last 4 years in helping us to put this together the way that it is and helping us to reduce the debt and to increase the revenues. Thank you.
Yes, sir. My pleasure.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Thank you.
Mr. Rockaway, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll move on to director's reports.
Actually, I think we need to move on that, even though it's listed as
You
consent.
are correct. Thank you for that correction.
I'll move on item 6.
CC6.
Mr. McKay,
They have to accept it.
Oh, they have to
They moved
accept
it
it.
out of the consent calendar.
consent calendar.
Yeah.
Mr. McKay's made a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Mr. Langard, second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Now we'll move on to director's reports, comments, and future agenda items. We'll start with Mr. Glenn.
I don't have anything.
Nothing from Mr. Glenn. Mr. McKay.
Well, I'm bringing to the board some bad news tonight. I attended the special meeting for AVAC where they were presented with a presentation there on their cost for the twin tunnels up in the Delta. And they're being told that they're going to have to provide over $300 million to pay for their share of the tunnels. And that means that the first thing that Dwayne started to talk, the general manager started to talk about was tax increases. And Frank Donato said no tax increases, he didn't like that. And so they're talking about water rate increases. So it's something that the new board is going to have to look at. If they're going to be buying water from AVAC, it's going to be more costly than what it is right now. And I also attended another meeting of AVAC on 11/13, and it was just business as usual, just a regular business for them at that meeting.
All right, thank you,
My report.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Mr. Lansgard.
Thank you, Mr. Singledecker, Mr. Flynn, Mr. McKay, and of course, Mr. Williford. It's been 4 years since we've been on the board, and we've accomplished a lot. And I went ahead and made up a list of things that we've done. I just kind of want to present and make part of the record tonight. At any rate, I don't want to go through and word for word read that, so I'll just touch the highlights. And this isn't anywhere close to what we have done, and of course, it isn't anywhere close to what we have in front of us. And I know I see the two new board members in the back. There's plenty to do, so hopefully we'll get the street lighting thing off your plate, and you can work on the heavy lifting. We did get the $95 million grant. That's huge. We did get the 220-acre farm. If you read that, you'll note that that's already producing $20,000 of income to the general fund, which is just about what we need to pay for the arterial street lighting. And of course, we're going to have a lot more than that when we actually start producing power. Many people don't. When you go to conferences, one of the things you are always told is, "Where's your vision? Where's your branding? How's everything going?" And of course, in years past, we never had anything like that. And now all of a sudden, we have a great brand, the RCSD brand, along with the green lettering and the blue water coming through it and bringing life to Roseman. That's invaluable, and that's something that needs to be built on. And I know that you're going to do that. It's just the beginning of the brand, so we're going to keep on bringing life to Roseman. The other thing that's huge when we first got on the board, they had just got done with 15 years of, or more than that, 17 years of groundwater litigation, and it took about 3 years. Now we have a water master board of 5. There's a water engineer who decides how water is going to be traded and how that's going to help establish value that Mr. Smith was talking about earlier. If we're going to bring water rates down, if the market comes down because now there's an ability to trade, that will be a plus to our users, water users here in the district, the ratepayers. And of course, the 1,500 acre feet that we're going to, instead of evaporating it, we're actually going to get that used as a denitrified water bank at the sewage treatment plant. There's in-house stuff we've done, creating a Wells Fargo bank depository. That's huge. Saves us money on the billing and saves us time on staff. So we might have forgot that. Like I said, there's a lot of things we probably have forgot. Kern County Sheriff now has a home here. Mr. Smith has worked really hard on tightening up the rules and procedures so that everything is clear as far as the fun stuff you want to read when you go to bed at night. We now have a award-winning budget again, balanced and coming in on the budget every year. We removed the sewer bill from the tax rolls. Increased that's a big one too, is we increased our ad valorem money from 210. I think actually the actual budget showed about 300,000, if I'm mistaken there, Mr. Rockenbach?
It was just under 300,000.
Just under 300,000, which is huge, which means that the value of the property in the district has gone up quite a bit. And oftentimes I fight with Ron Smith about that. I said, Ron, we should be involved with the Chamber of Commerce. We should be involved with the GAVAR, $1,000 here, $5,000 there. We're increasing our ad valorem money big time because of the fact that our community continues to grow and prosper, and that's reflected in the ad valorem money. And of course, the discretionary money from the 220 acres, that's huge. So Mr. Smith did a great job on negotiating that deal. That keeps paying dividends. I've written them all down there for you. We're 98%, is that right, of meters installed in the district, John?
Yes.
Or better. And the key thing for that is the data that comes in. You know, when I go to these seminars up in where we have them for the California Special Districts or with the Aqua, they're always saying data mining is very important. Data is where we're able to get more grant money. Data is where we're able to address local concerns as far as how water is used and pressure comes in and that type of thing, and how we maintain things. So it's very important to have that data now available to us. And I guess the next thing to do is figure out how to mine the data and make that work for us. There's plenty left to do. I mean, a lot left to do that we haven't got to, mostly because the state kind of runs that. That's the arsenic grant annexation. That's a huge thing that the new board is going to have to look into and make sure that that moves along as fast as the state will let us. And it's one thing I left off of this thing, by the way, is the list is I forgot all about the arsenic grant and the building that has to be taking place. That there's about $12 million in funds we're supposed to have for building pipes out to the west side, to the new mobile home parks coming on the east side. I mean, to the old mobile home parks that are coming in the district on the east side. Plenty to do there. We still have the 14-member employee unions contract to finish negotiating. One of my big ones, we just heard it, and I wanted to ask the question for Mr. McKay, $300 million for our share of the Twin Tunnel for AVAC. What is the total value of AVAC's, and maybe Brad Rockerback could look into that, AVAC's plant equipment now without that $300 million? How much is that increasing their overall thing? Because what we need to do, what I'd like to do, is how much would it cost us to buy into a desal plant? And probably a lot less if we got the whole AVAC community involved, a lot less than $300 million. And there's plenty of water in the ocean. That's never going to be a problem. If we can figure out a way to get it up cheaper from by trading it, by bringing the water, building a desal plant in Mexico, for example, be a lot less CEQA attached to that. Trading that water with San Diego so that we get their water shares that are coming down from up north. Little things like that obviously can all be done because they do have a water market there already. But that's a big planning idea. Then you have a general manager who actually can make that happen. He's kind of the head of the public water users on the water master, if I'm saying that correctly. So we got that going for us as well. We're going to have a new master plan in January, February. Is that right? That we paid $300,000 for an engineer. At least that's what we budgeted for them to do. It's going to tell us where every pipe, every sewer pipe, every water pipe, everything in the district is located. We know when it needs to be replaced, that type of thing. So those are things that you're going to be in charge of, making sure those things happen. Of course, making sure the water is affordable and the sewer, of course, runs properly and efficiently. That's another one that's continue to need your input. And I'm still, number G, I want that 3-page write-up with another 2 pages of pictures on what the RCSD and the Roseman have to offer. Because we still have the engineers' writings from 2015 that we're using. We do have other properties here, if it shouldn't be forgotten, if someone wants to come along. And this is a community center. We're right next to the sheriff's. We're next to the library, we're next to the fire department. And we also have the land on the corner there. If we can find a use that segues into a community asset, hopefully maybe in the healthcare industry part, that would be great. But again, that's up to you to work on those things. And continue to work with other agencies. We don't have any more to do with parks and recreation. Anything we have to do is anything we can do is probably funnel through to the RMAC and letting the RMAC know we can't do this, but you need to help us develop parks. It's all county now. But also anything that has to do with Edwards Air Force Base, if we can continue to work with them. We do have some land on Edwards Air Force Base that we're not using for sewer that could be used for other things. And We do have some lighting districts that went dark, that only went dark by one voter or so. It'd be nice to see that change. And just keep your eyes open. There's plenty of things to do. This is just a small amount of what's out there. And I'll look forward to seeing great things happen the next years. And thank you very much for allowing me to serve on the board.
Thank you. Mr. Wolford?
I would like to congratulate the members that are going off. They did work hard. We didn't always agree, but their heart was in the right place. And I want to welcome the new members coming on. You are going to be busy and have your tennis shoes on because we'll be in a dead run. And that's about all I have.
All right, thank you. Again, I'd like to thank staff and the community for the opportunity to be on this board. Thank the board members for everything that they've done. And I'd definitely again like to welcome Mr. Stewart, Mr. Wood, two of the new board members that will be seated on the board very shortly. And thank you. We'll move on to general manager update.
Nothing at this time. Does everybody have a great Thanksgiving?
No update.
Nothing from the assistant general manager.
Just that the wastewater treatment plant, we're looking at start percolation in probably about 3 more weeks.
Mr. Rockerman, do you have anything to add?
No, I think I said everything that you need to know.
Thank you.
Did you see how he phrased that? That we need to know.
There you
He's
go.
good.
Is there anything for Public Works?
Yeah, the Public Works crew, they installed 3 new main lines in the distribution system on the water side. They did 295 lock-offs this month, or I'm sorry, 295 late notices that resulted in 38 lock-offs. And since the beginning of November, they've fixed 2 service line leaks, 4 angle stops, and they completed the meter reading today.
Great, thank you. Director of Administration and Board Secretary update.
Yes, so for the month of October, we had 65 new accounts. We closed 143 accounts. We processed 5,369 payments. Of those, the front office processed 1,792 payments. And we will be opening the district at 10 a.m. on December 10th to allow for staff training. We will be posting notices on the website and on our front door.
All right, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, I'd like to say thank you to everybody who attended tonight. With that, as of 8 o'clock, we will be adjourned.